Good afternoon and welcome. Once again, my name is John. I am from Orphan Car Garage and we're located in Abington, Massachusetts, which is about 30 minutes south of Boston. And of course, what I do here at Orphan Car Garage, or OCG as we sometimes refer to it as, is we purvey some of the most affordable and cool classic and special interest cars that money can buy. And the car here in front of us is a perfect example of that. And this one hails from the 1980s. Every now and then we get a cool car from the 80s here. I kind of enjoy them. It's my era. I was a teenager in the 80s. So these are the cars that I remember and lusted after as a young teenager. And now I have a chance to drive them. And this car I've driven all summer and I've enjoyed the heck out of it. Of course, this is a Buick Riviera. This is a Buick Riviera from 1983. Buick introduced the convertible version of this Riviera in 1982. And only lasted until 1985. And they only built just under 4,000 of these cars total throughout those years. This 1983 model was actually the highest production year for the convertible, with just 1,750 sold. So this is a pretty rare car. You can only get them in two colors. This white here in front of us with the dark maroon leather interior, or you could get it in red fire mist, which is a sort of a cranberry red color with the same dark red leather interior. I'm sort of partial to the white because I think it shows off the red interior nicely. It's very classic. One thing you'll notice about this particular car, if you know these cars much at all, is that it has sort of rare factory road wheels. And those are correct. They have the Riviera emblem in the center cap. I only remember seeing maybe a handful of these cars ever with those wheels. Most of the time you'll see these with wire wheel covers. And I think the road wheels really set it off nicely. This particular example spent its entire life in the state of Massachusetts here, but was never subjected to winter weather. And I have pictures to prove that as far as the undercarriage goes, because undercarriages don't lie. And this undercarriage of this car is just as clean as the top surfaces. The convertible top is white and it's in nice shape. Not perfect, but nice. And I have pictures of the top up on our website. A couple things on these cars that they're known for. In fact, a lot of GM cars, full-size GM cars from the 70s and 80s are known for, are disintegrating bumper fillers. These are the bumper fillers. These are made out of fiberglass just to cover the space between the 5-mile-an-hour bumpers and the body of the car. They're just sort of a finish that GM put on. The problem was the material literally cracked and disintegrated over time. Sometimes even super low mileage cars have bad fillers. Many of these cars that you find for sale, and I suggest you pay attention to that as you look at these cars for sale. If you don't buy this one, these fillers 9 times out of 10 need to be replaced. Sometimes they're completely missing. There's a reason why the sellers aren't doing that job. It's not cheap. We just put brand new front fillers on this car, and it cost us over $1,000 for just the front. The parts aren't that cheap, and it's expensive to have them painted and fitted, but it makes a big difference, and we spent the money on this one to have these replaced. Those are brand new front bumper fillers. Again, keep your eye out on these cars because most of them need them done, and it's not inexpensive to have done. We spent the money on this car because it's a nice car. Now, the odometer of this car shows 117,000 miles, which is correct. 17,000 to be exact, because back then we only had a 5-digit odometer, but the car does have 117. That has spun over. But the interesting part about that is that I have a receipt from 1991 from the Buick dealer where this was sold new, and General Motors put a brand new engine in this car in 1991 when it had 63,000 miles on it. A brand new crate General Motors Goodwrench engine was put in this car in 1991. And it looks to me, reading the paperwork, that General Motors took part in paying the bill. So I don't know why that was. Maybe it was some sort of a bulletin, a known issue with the engine. Of course, the engine is a 307 V8. Those put out about 140 or 150 horsepower, which to me is potent enough to drive this car down the road and enjoy it. So you've got a car with 117,000, but the motor with a lot less. The car runs like a dream. I've been driving this car all summer. Now the back fillers have been attended to already as far as the centers. These two center pieces have been replaced by the last owner. but for some reason he didn't do the end caps. So there's a piece missing out of the end cap here, and there's a homemade repair done on this end cap here. I just wanted you to see that. We probably should have bought those two end caps and had them replaced with the front. Why we didn't, I don't know. Hindsight's 2020. That's up to the next owner to decide whether that's needed or not. They're certainly not nearly as bad as the fronts were, and that's why we replaced them. Beautiful interior. The back seat looks like it's hardly ever been sat in. These cars left the assembly line as hard tops at General Motors, but they knew which cars were going to be convertibles because the assembly line left the back seat out of the car and left the headliners out of the hard tops. And these cars were sent down the road to American Sunroof Company, or ASC, and the tops were chopped off of them. About 10 or 12 hours of labor was put in these cars after they left the GM assembly line to turn them into proper convertibles. And that included body rigidity structures underneath to add some support to the undercarriage of the car to eliminate flex. Like most Rivieras, this car is fully equipped, power seats, and the power seats do work for the most part. They're a little lazy. The tilt and the recline all work. They are a bit lazy, but they do work. All four windows work fine. Of course, the convertibles have rear quarter windows that the coupes did not, and they all work in this car. The power door locks do not work. Well, they work when they want. They just worked once, but then they didn't again. So I'm going to call them not operational. Probably needs a couple of actuators. Not uncommon in an 80s car. Electronics in the 1980s in American cars was horrendous in the long run. It just wasn't. The parts, the quality wasn't there. Most 80s cars you find today are going to have these same issues. I'm just pointing them out. Most sellers don't, and you don't find out until you get the car. The original AM/FM stereo with auto reverse works beautifully, but the digital display does not. Stereo works, but digital display does not. Automatic temperature control seems to operate the way it should. All the buttons work and light up as they're supposed to, but the air conditioning in this car does not operate by blowing cold air. I just get warm air blown at me when I turn on the air conditioner. The compressor is hooked up with a belt. It does not make any noise, but we have not attended to the air conditioner in this car, and we're not going to. We're selling the car as is. Again, I've been driving this car all summer, and every time I get in it, it starts up like that. Because that's the power top switch. It just runs fantastically. I'm not going to open the hood because I have hood props on order. This hood is held open by two hydraulic pistons right here, one in each corner. Those need to be replaced, and they will be replaced before the car is sent to its next owner. But for one person to open the hood without those props working properly, with a camera in hand, it wouldn't be pretty. So if you want to see the engine, go to my website, but I can assure you that it's a very clean and well-sorted engine bay. No crazy noises or smoke coming from the exhaust. Again, this car is equipped with the 307 V8, General Motors V8, mostly used in Oldsmobiles, but Buick used it in these. Can't remember if I mentioned that already. I've done this video about 3 times, constant interruptions. The power antenna does operate when we turn on the radio. And if I remember, I'll do that before I turn off the video. Beautiful chrome, beautiful trim. Just a real pretty car. There's not a whole lot of these to be had, and most of them are very tired looking. Now, this car is not perfect. I'm the first to admit that, but it's one of the nicest that you'll find, especially in the price range that we're asking. There goes that antenna. And the radio does work. I just don't have a station tuned in that's local, but the radio does work. I've been using it, believe me. I've been driving this car for a couple of months. I've had a lot of fun with it, but it's time to let it go and move on to something else. I say it all the time. I want to keep everything, but we can't keep everything. So This 1983 Buick Riviera convertible, one of just 1,750 built that year. Orphan Car Garage pricing, $9,800. Under $10,000, $9,800 as you see it. One of the nicest Rivieras for that money that you'll find. Even the lower mileage cars for more money will have some of the same issues this one does. Look at those bumper fillers, check that air conditioning, those power seats. They're all notorious issues on these cars, but they don't hamper the way the car drives. It's just mostly cosmetic. We've taken care of some of those issues on this car, namely those front fillers. Also, while I'm at it, we do have a bunch of receipts on maintenance on the car, and I replaced the rear brakes about a month ago, so the rear pads and rotors have been done. Prior to me, the front pads and rotors were done in 2021. Radiator was done around that same time, and again, that replacement engine in 1991. Plus a lot of oil change receipts and things like that. If you like what you see, give me a call, 508-954-8090. Check this car out on the web, and its gallery of photos there, undercarriage, engine, trunk. I think you'll be rather impressed. Top up, etc., etc. Like us on Facebook. This car will be posted there, or has been posted there. And of course, subscribe to us here on YouTube, because I'm always profiling cool cars like this, and we have a few more coming up in the pipeline in the not too distant future. And I think that's about it, folks. Dare to be different in this 1983 Buick Riviera convertible, $9,800. Thank you.